right. Welcome back to the FAQCrew GM chat. We had a short hiatus and are returning for season 2. And I have a new guest who will introduce himself right now.
Hi there, I'm Shiraz, and I go by the Twitter handle at DysonDeeds on Twitter. I GM and I usually draw things that people say on Twitter. That's what I do.
Great. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into role playing and DMing?
All right, so role playing. I always had a massive interest in it. When I was a kid, like when I was 12 or something, I used to play a lot of Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale. They were very well written games, but they were still video games. And then somebody told me, no, you can actually play this at a table. Like, really? So I ended up playing with a friend and his girlfriend, and the girlfriend DM'd for us. So she ran a pretty nice campaign. I started with the 4th edition. I think I'm lucky that I started with 4th edition because it's more video gamey in a way.
Yeah.
So it was a nice transition into D&D for me. And then I switched to Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And I love Pathfinder because it's like the old school one. And now I'm playing 5e and I love 5th edition. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I've been playing for about 9 or so years now.
All right. Okay. And when did you start to DM?
I started to DM about like 2 years after I played my first game. So the first ever session I DM'd, I railroaded like a bitch. I just kind of like, this is how it will happen. And my players, I told them to make the most broken things as possible so I could throw the most powerful things at them.
Yeah.
And made like the most broken characters at a point, and no one enjoyed it. And I kind of had a little bit of an awakening. And then I learned how to do it properly. And I ran a game for like a year on Roll20 in Glasgow, and then I started another one in Pathfinder. Basically, those 2 years. I GM'd, I learned pretty much story slowly and kind of like built up to it. I love DM.
Okay. So do you run modules in like the Forgotten Realms, or did you build your own world?
I actually have never ran a module, and people keep telling me that that's very good, that's how you get your basics down and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have always liked having my own worlds and building everything from scratch and having really weird sounding NPCs and stuff, so I love that.
Okay. So how do you, when you start building your world, how do you go about it?
So the first one I ever built, I did the whole old-fashioned writing a book thing where I came up with the lore for it, and I came up with like the political system, and I built all these details and these cities, and soon realized that players don't care for that shit. So the second one I built was much more, which I still do run. So the third iteration of it is I just start with a map and one city, and then as I just keep describing places and just keep building the world as the session keeps going on. Like maybe if I want to play something, like if I want to play a zombie game or something, I'll throw a rumor in and see if they bite. But I'll have like kind of, it's very, very loose and fast. I'm unorthodox, to say the least, I feel sometimes.
Oh well, I'm not far off from that in my games. Okay. And when you create the world, do the character backgrounds and decisions from your players influence how the world is shaped?
Absolutely. So what I like to do is sometimes especially on Roll20, you can ask them like a little questionnaire and stuff, and you can have a discussion. But usually I used to ask my players to come up with their backstory, and then I would discuss it with them. So I would say like, so okay, yeah, you're an orphan, and you grew up in a monastery. Okay, where's the monastery? What place is it? And 9 out of 10 times people will go, I'll tell you about the place later. But a little probing, like sometimes just getting that detail out of them helps me build the world, because I'll just include their backstory into the world somewhere. So it helps me as well, because I'm shit at coming up with place names.
Yeah, names are the worst.
So I tend to like go into the atlas, and DM tip for everybody out there, go into the atlas, find the smallest towns in the weirdest country you can find. There you go, city names.
That's actually a good idea. I'll have to keep that in mind. Okay, so how would you describe what's the campaign you are currently running? What's it like? What's its focus and what's it about?
Okay, so in India, not a lot of people play D&D. There's pockets of people who play, but it's mostly in the metropolitan cities. And here it's still very much like board games. So someone has to be the winner in the end, and someone has to be the loser kind of stuff. It has to be, it's a bit Monopoly-like. So I actually found people who were like-minded geeks, who liked Lord of the Rings, who liked Game of Thrones. So the way I described it to them is like, imagine any TV show, pick one character from the TV show, and you're responsible for all their actions, and everyone bought it. So right now what's happening is I started the game, I gave them a little city to function out of, and essentially they're in this city, they're adventurers for hire, they're working for a guild, and the guild may or may not be good, and there's like intrigue to be found later on, but
Alright.
it's kind of like a very free. I started it as like a one-shot thing, so I have like 10 people who play,
Wow.
but they keep jumping in and out of the game. So sometimes somebody can't make it, so another person makes it. So I made this system using. Have you ever seen the West Marches?
I think I have, yeah.
So I think It Me, JP, and Silent Osiris run it. He runs a really tight game. What he does is he has a rotating cast of characters, and after every game finishes, they have to pay a certain amount of gold to get back to town.
Okay.
So it resets everything. So no matter where you are, some other team goes and finds you and brings you back. But you pay for gold because you're knocked out.
Yeah.
And that appealed to me. So whenever my players go out and they don't make it back at the end of 4 hours, they're presumed lost and somebody has to go find them.
Interesting.
And then the next time when we start with a brand new structure, we start with a brand new quest, and we try to complete it in 4 hours.
Nice. That sounds interesting.
It, in theory, it sounds great, but actually they spend like 3 of those 4 hours in the marketplace haggling over swords. What?
Oh well, yeah, well, you can never predict what players will do.
It's like we have to be prepared. Get all the holy water, all the holy water.
All right. How much amount of preparation do you do for your sessions?
So I write down what potential monsters I will throw at them. And more often than not, I'll take something from the monster manual and I'll flavor it differently. Like, I like the idea that D&D is extremely customizable to your own needs.
Oh, yeah.
So I end up like taking monster manual stuff and just kind of like messing with it a little bit, and I'll keep notes for it for myself. And then I'll have rough plot points like kind of laid out. So they're going here, they're going to meet 3 people, and they're going to make either one of those 3 choices or the 4th, which I don't know about. And then kind of like go from there. So I make like a very, very rough idea. So mostly just NPC names, like a brief note about the NPC's personality, and monster names, brief note about the monsters that I'm going to throw at them, and then that's it. Everything else is just freeform.
All right. Okay. And who would you say, or are there any discernible influences on your DMing style? Any DMs you have seen and were like, okay, I want to be more like that?
Yeah. I'll probably get a lot of flack for this, but it's not Matthew Mercer. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I do like him. He does a really good job of what he does. I started by watching Christopher Perkins do all the acquisitions and corporate games, and he's a very good DM. Like, he runs it very tight, very effortless, and he's good. So when I watched him, I was like, that's the guy. I want to run my game like him. Unfortunately, I don't have like his expertise or his experience, so yeah.
Yeah, well, that comes with time.
Yes, it comes with time.
Yeah, also we don't have somebody to build 3D models for us.
Yeah, there was the one where he built like the giant statue of like Alistair, like one of the wizards,
Yeah.
Elminster,
Yeah.
and he ran the Pacific Rim game, them fighting the Tarrasque on it, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I can't own that.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So how do you handle PCs dying in your campaign? Do you do anything different from the books, or are you just okay? It's in the rules, so we'll go with that.
So the whole death save success thing, I do it like in the books. I go by the rules there. If a PC actually dies, which hasn't happened in a long while, I tend to make a kind of discovery quest about it. So like it's kind of like the players, if they really want to bring the PC back, they can go on a quest to revive them in some way. And like I think I may have suggested this to you, and I'm sorry to whoever plays in your game, but always make a pact with an evil creature to kind of get the soul back.
Yeah.
It's a favorite. It's a favorite of mine. It's like literally like all kinds of deviousness built into that one.
Oh yeah. Okay. Please tell me a favorite anecdote from maybe being a player and being a DM. What stuck with you?
All right, I'll start with the DM one first. So this is me coming back to India after 10 years and running it with my best friends. So it's the best ever game in recent memory. They had to go fight a dragon, which was the god of a cult of kobolds. So they go and fight the dragon, and they've bought explosives, like high explosives, to fight the dragon, which is fine. They're also aided by a bunch of NPC thieves, which are, for lack of better reasons, modeled after the French Foreign Legion with all the accents and everything. One of the guys who's old and it's his last day on the job, he's carrying all the dynamite. And they're fighting the dragon, it's going downhill, and in order to rally them, I send the NPC with the last day on the job, that guy with all the explosives, forward. And the dragon's smart enough, so he just swats him aside instead of like breathing fire on him. So the NPC dies, and everyone gets super rallied up about it, which was the great part. So everyone like really gets into the fight and finishes the dragon, and they're really sad that this NPC has died. Like he's been talking to them throughout the entire trip about how he wants to go home and build a farm and shit. And they decide to give him a Viking funeral. I'm like, okay, that's good. Yeah, okay. He described the Viking funeral. So everyone does their bit, the ranger goes off into the forest and finds like aromatic herbs or something, and they put it in the boat and they kind of set it away. It goes away about like maybe 500 meters, and then the guy takes out a flaming arrow and rolls a natural 20. So the arrow flies into the air. And then at that point I said, time stops. Who remembered to remove the dynamite? There's this collective look of, oh fuck. Roll reflex saves. So, so they so they blew like maybe, I don't know, 200, 300 gallons of water outside the lake. It rained around the area for a bit. And it was a great story because it was the moment when it happened. It's just like not only like in game were they like, oh my god, but just the looks on my friends' faces are like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And that's very rewarding as a DM.
Yeah.
As a player, there's so many stories, but the one that really comes to mind is the Goblin launcher. So
Okay.
we had a guy who was playing a priest of Ayun, and he had successfully rolled a series of charisma checks to convince a gang of kobolds to become his followers. A gang of like goblins, so like maybe 20 to 30 goblins, and he literally ran around with them. They carried him around in a little chair and stuff. He was a dwarf.
Right.
So in this fight, we had to infiltrate the stronghold. And the stronghold was really well designed, and we've been trying to go at it for ages. It was like that Monty Python episode where we're just standing outside the walls, and the French are just relentlessly taunting us, and we're like, "Fuck this shit." So one of us has an idea, and yours truly has this idea that we'll hollow out a tree trunk, and then we will attach what is a rubber band to it, and we'll put goblins inside it and launch them into the facilities.
Okay.
So we launched like maybe 30 to 40 goblins to sabotage the fortress from inside. And the DM like goes, okay, couple of rolls. It's like, yeah, the fortress crumbles. You hear a lot of explosions. So I single-handedly killed an entire fortress.
That's awesome.
It was like one of the best. I was like, so there's just giant explosions happening everywhere, and then just it collapses in on itself.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, to wrap this up, do you have any other advice for DMs except for look in the atlas for your names?
Someone once told me, never say no to your players, regardless of what they want to do, but always offer them the consequence of when they say yes.
Yeah.
That actually helps you as a DM a lot because it hardens your skin to the standard. I want to be a unicorn. I want to be a were unicorn. So you're like, okay, yeah, but you every full moon you go and eat babies or something.
Yeah.
Like that. That's the thing. So I think that would be one of the advices. And the second thing is like, it just the consequence thing is so important. It helped me a lot. Just always say yes to your players, and 9 out of 10 times, just trust in their insanity. It'll be fine.
All right. Okay. So, well, thank you very much, Shiraz. People can find you on Twitter at Dice Deeds.
Dice Deeds, yes. Dice and Deeds or Dice Deeds, I forget. I'm not very good at plugging myself.
That's fine. It will be in the description. And you have a page on... Is it Tumblr? Yeah.
It's electronic thumbs at tumblr.com.
All right.
And
So
I usually put up art on Mondays and Thursdays. And, if you ever need anything done, just say hello and I'll do it for you.
yeah, I can attest to that. And it's awesome. All right, so thank you very much. That was a great chat, and we'll be back for the next episode sometime later. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.